What's up, everybody? King of Fomo here, coming at you with your daily crypto update. Today we're going to be talking about Pulsechain. Pulsechain is taking a huge beating today. Pulsechain has gotten obliterated in the past kind of 48 hours. So we're going to unpack the reason why. There is a legitimate reason as to why the price is down a pretty significant amount. It kind of went down a little faster than sort of I originally anticipated it would. But again, there's a reason for that. We're going to unpack that today. And we're also going to talk about, will it ever recover? Or is Pulsechain dead for good? So we'll get into all that stuff today. First of all, let's take a look at the charts. So let's go ahead and zoom in here on Pulsechain. We're looking at a local low right now. I mean, it's just... we've just been going lower and lower and lower. There's no bottom right now to about 0.00018 cents. So you can, I just say that's 0.011 cents. So, and my sort of buy back in opportunity for Pulsechain was about 0.00013 cents. So we're below my original buy-in point. It's definitely a steal right now for sure. If you think that Pulsechain is going to survive this sort of FUD that's happening right now and come back stronger, then this could be the cheapest it gets, but of course it could get cheaper. We're just constantly seeing lowers every couple minutes right now, so who knows how low it's going to go for sure. If we look at the Pulse Burn website, we're currently sitting at about almost 1x the sacrifice price. So people who are in profit soon will be in a loss from their sacrifice. I think that chances are pretty likely right now, since we're so close to it, chances are pretty likely that we're going to go below sacrifice rate. So everyone's going to be at a loss if they sacrificed soon. I think that that's definitely in the cards right now. So let's talk about the FUD. What is the FUD right now? I'm a little upset with this website. This website used to have a button to show you this, but if you want to get here and take a look at this, this is the PulseX app.pulsex.com/info. So we can see kind of what's going on in the back end of the main decentralized exchange for Pulse. Let me make sure you guys can see everything here. Yeah, you guys can see everything good. And let me make sure we got the chat going on good. Yeah, the chat's going good too. And yeah, so this is the liquidity app. Like I said, never expect things to go up constantly. Things go up, things go down all the time. So this might just be a downward movement, but we had some massive upward movement. Liquidity at $479 million, and we've retraced to about, we've gone down, what about one fourth to $306 million of liquidity. Still pretty impressive, but was more impressive before. Taking a look at the numbers for the tokens, we're down about 20% on everything right now. Incentives down 28%. Let's just go look here. PulseX is down 28.95%. and Hex is down 22%. So massive losses today. So the reason why is this happening? Some of you guys probably already know, but someone recently discovered a flaw in the Pulse ecosystem. Now the flaw has nothing to do with Pulse. It really has nothing to do with Hex, but it has something to do with PulseX. So I do think that people who are holding PulseX should consider maybe not holding it anymore. I think that is in the realm of possibility. I think the main exchange, PulseX, the main exchange for the Pulsechain, might not be the main exchange anymore because it doesn't work. So what do I mean by that? It doesn't work. Well, with decentralized exchanges, let me go over to here so I can show you guys. With decentralized exchanges, your incentive for people loading up money on decentralized exchanges is, how do I get here? Right here is the liquidity. I guess it'll be easier if I just go to the info. The incentive for leaving money on decentralized exchanges is you pair up some coins, right? Let's just say you pair up DAI and Pulse, and when you pair those coins up, you're gonna get some of the fees from people trading, right? And we talked about that before. The two main drivers for growth are volume and users, right? If you have a decentralized exchange that has a lot of volume and a lot of users, then you want to provide liquidity for that exchange. Why? Because you're going to get a percentage of the fees from everybody trading back and forth. The higher the volume, the more amount of people, the more fees you're going to get, and the more you're going to earn from being on that decentralized exchange. Pulsechain, when it launched, or PulseX, when it launched, its whole deal was it has most of the fees are going to go to buy and burn, right? So people that hold PulseX should be happy because people that use the PulseX exchange are going to be trading on there, and whatever they're trading, it's going to go to the buy and burn of PulseX. That way, the price of PulseX is going to be supported, and this is where a lot of people were touting this like three-prong system, and the main three coins for the Pulse ecosystem are PulseX, and Hex, right? These things all work together. One doesn't go up without the other going up, one doesn't go down without the other going down. Now the system's sort of broken because you don't get trading fees, right? Everything goes into the buy and burn. So that essentially means that there is no incentive. There's none. There's no incentive for providing liquidity on the PulseX exchange, with the exception of getting some of that incentive token. Now, I personally do not think that this incentive token is nearly enough to sustain PulseX for the duration. I think that if that token fails, then there's literally no incentive to providing liquidity. So what that means is that whoever is the next person to develop an exchange over here on Pulse, they're probably going to absorb all of the liquidity, right? I'd rather hold my coins on an exchange that's going to give me liquidity fees rather than doing it pro bono, which is essentially what you're doing with PulseX. You're doing it pro bono. You're getting incentive, but you're not getting, like all these farms say right here, incentive plus fees. Well, that's not the case. It's just incentive, right? And then it's pro bono after that. So, and that problem comes with, like, a lot of people expect it to just get a little bit of those fees, right? A lot of volume, some of those fees, everyone's happy. A lot of volume, no fees, well, they're going to start taking their funds out of PulseX, they're going to put it in some other decentralized exchange, and that's going to really, really hurt the price of PulseX. Less buy and burns, less of an incentive to have the PulseX token if no one's using the PulseX exchange. And to me, this really just kills the PulseX token unless Richard Hart can somehow find a way to incentivize holding PulseX even more in the long run. And that's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the long run for this thing, because I mean, in the short term, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if you're talking about a year out from now, those fees do add up, and people are going to choose another exchange over this one because they'll have a better incentive to being on there. So yeah, and that it is, like, some people are saying it's not a big deal. It was just 0.22%, not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal because that's how the whole like three-pronged ecosystem was supposed to work. You were supposed to have Pulse supporting PulseX, supporting Hex, supporting Pulse, and then they're all supporting each other. That's not really the case anymore. If you're holding Pulse, regular Pulse, it shouldn't be that big of a deal because that's not affected by the exchange too much. That's the main coin of the chain. So in the long run, Pulse shouldn't be that affected. But I do think that if PulseX, the exchange, does not recover, then this might be the end for PulseX in general, especially if another exchange takes over and becomes the main one. So that is the T for PulseX in the ecosystem, and that's why a lot of people just like dumped the crap out of their coin today. That's why we're down so much. People are upset. People are kind of looking forward to the future, saying, "Well, this is kind of broken, and this is bad," and it is. Like, don't let people who sugarcoat it and say it's not a big deal, because, I mean, it's kind of just the fundamental system of how everything was supposed to work. It doesn't work the way that it's supposed to anymore. Now, is this fixable? Yes and no. I mean, I guess they could fix it if they relaunch their entire exchange. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think it's going to be a lot of work to do that. So we'll see if they do some sort of relaunch of the exchange. But if they do it, they'd have to do it sooner rather than later. Like, they can't do it like 3 months from now. It has to be really, really soon. So now, can Pulse recover, right? Can Pulse recover? That's the question. I do think that it has the chance of recovering, right? We're not in the dead zone quite yet. We can look over here on Dex Tools and our Dex Screener. Let me go ahead and reload this page. Make sure we're looking at something accurate here. So yeah, Pulsechain is still above Polygon when it comes to 24-hour volume, $180 million compared to $77.7 million. It's decreasing though. So hopefully that doesn't decrease too much, because then it will start fading out of existence, fading out of people's minds. But as long as it stays in the top 3, top 4, top 5, it still has relevance. It still has enough volume for people to want to use the ecosystem. But this is my opinion. I think they do need to put a band-aid on this and, I don't know, address it somehow before you have a too much of an outflow of people leaving the system because of that lack of incentive for holding any tokens on PulseX. Bad stuff. But again, not the end of the world, as long as they can sort of remedy the situation in the next couple weeks and we don't lose too much volume or too much daily active users. It won't be a big deal. In other news, I did actually set up my Pulsechain validator today. Now it takes like 2 or 3 days to actually get it up and running, so I won't be doing any updates or videos for like maybe half a week or a week on what I'm earning and making from that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be holding my position all the way down to the bottom, right? Because this was essentially forgotten money for a long time. So for me, it's not that big of a deal. Would have been nice to sell the tippity top and buy back in, but I screwed that up. So now I'm just in for the ride. Now, don't do the same thing as me. You might want to consider selling and leaving forever. For me, it's not that big of a deal if the funds do go to zero, to be honest. Yeah, so let's check out what you guys are speaking about in the chat. Nobody's speaking about anything in the chat. Let's see if we got anybody joining us right now. We got 12 viewers, 13 viewers. What's up, guys? So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of doing an update on the validator. That'll be a little bit of some positive information hopefully coming out of Pulse. And yeah, man, it's been a rough day and a half for Pulse for sure. Taking a look a little bit more at kind of just some loss therapy right here. Let's go to Pulse Die. And again, what I like to do is I like to look at the big money, the big movements here in Pulse. Right, so I look at who's moving $10,000 worth of Pulse around. Are they buying or are they selling? So if we scroll down here, we got quite a bit of buys, right? 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. This was at about an hour ago. So a lot of people are trying to scoop up this dip for sure. These green lines that you're seeing are big buys from people trying to catch the bottom. But you do have a lot of like massive FUD from some big time holders. And we've seen a lot of this today, like over $100,000 is being sold at a time. So this was also an hour ago, $244,000 were sold. This was probably this big red line. And every time you have $100,000 or more being sold, you're going to have an even bigger red line. There's $115,000 worth of Pulse sold, right? This is probably this other big red line. And another 116,000, and it really, like, these $100,000 sells really just eat away at all the buys. Like, it just makes all the buys insignificant, and that's why you're seeing such heavy sell volume. $17 million of sell volume. I don't think we've had this much of a discrepancy, this much of a gap since the launch of Pulsechain. $118,000. We already looked at that one. Let's just do this, right? So if we look at so $10,000 is a big buy, but $100,000, that's a chunky amount, right? So what's happening with the chunky amounts? And you can see that this is all red. This is FUD day for sure. These are all $100,000 sells, and you can kind of add this up. This is multiple millions of dollars worth of sales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is all. Dang, this is all like in the past hour or so, right? This is 12 a.m. to 12:21 a.m. May 31st. This was a couple hours ago. Yeah, so the majority of these sells, man, that's what's killing Pulse. I mean, I don't think it's like the little sellers. I think it's just a couple of big time, big fat cats that are cashing out and saying, you know what, this isn't going the way I want it to go. And the other thing you have to notice, like these big fat cats, they're selling at a loss, right? Almost a loss. They're still actually at a gain right now, but they want to at least pull out their initial. That's what's happening. So I don't know. When we get to, it'll be interesting to see what happens once you get to 1x the sacrifice price, because then your fat cats are going to be selling at a definite loss for sure. And you know, how low can we go after that? That's the question. That is the question. What are you guys' thoughts? You guys have any thoughts on this? Are you flabbergasted? Cryptizati. Pro bono right now, but don't you think Richard Hart will fix this? So here's the deal, Cryptizati. When things are written in code, sometimes they're very difficult to just go back and fix. And I was thinking about it, and fixing an entire DEX with something like that, I don't know if that's possible. Now maybe he wrote it. Maybe they wrote it into the code where they can change those values up a little bit, but that would sort of be unethical to have that coded in where you can change the where the fees are going by an extreme amount like that. Hopefully it's modifiable by small amounts, but to my knowledge, it shouldn't be changeable, and that would mean they would have to relaunch the entire exchange, which means that people would have to migrate all of their liquidity over. It would be a mess for them to fix if the code is not modifiable for that particular variable. It's going to be a mess for them to fix. Now, it could still be worth it, even though it's a mess. They might want to jump on it and say, "Hey guys, we effed up. Please move your liquidity from PulseX version 1 to PulseX version 2," and they'll fix it that way. I think that, because I don't think they have to do anything with the PulseX token. I think the PulseX token might be okay. I think what's borked is the DEX, the exchange. So I guess the fix wouldn't be that difficult, but they really need to decide what they're going to do, like, in the next couple days, and then do it. Because if they wait too long, all of your liquidity is just going to drain out of here and go somewhere else. Trust is going to go down. Again, the incentive's not there, so you have to take a look at all the liquidity that PulseX has. This $294 million of liquidity. People move that over there because, you know, a lot of times people like to park their liquidity and just let it ride for them. But when you're parking your liquidity in a place that doesn't give you any value, it's probably best to just unpark it and park it somewhere else that gives you value until they fix it. And that's where you can have like a snowball effect, cascading of just withdrawals of liquidity, right? Because what's the incentive? I mean, you get incentive token, yes, but that's not going to I mean, it's not going to pay off. It's down 31% today. So yeah, hopefully he does fix it. Hopefully they do introduce a solution. But the problem is, I don't think it's going to be an easy click of a button solution. I think it's going to be a mess to fix. Now, I think that one of the best things that could happen, maybe not the best things, but one likely thing that could happen is another exchange launching on Pulse. And we were talking about this yesterday, about other exchanges that are coming to Pulse and them like doing it right, and then them getting some liquidity involved. That would be kind of good. It would be good for the Pulse ecosystem. It would be bad for PulseX, right? PulseX would be sort of doomed if another decentralized exchange takes the top spot so early in the life cycle of Pulsechain. Yeah, so it's looking a little grim right now. But of course, if you're not that concerned about the funds, then just be patient and wait, right? Things will eventually get better. Like, I guess that's one way to look at it. Things can't really get that much worse, right? We're kind of in the thick of it for the badness of what's going on. And to be honest, the mistake could have also been worse. This mistake isn't like the end of PulseX. It's not like coins are locked or anything. Yeah. but it's definitely not a good one either, right? It's not an easy fix. Nope, not an easy fix. Deliana Odmanson. Those that sold will buy back later. The biggest holder of the Pulse ecosystem sold over 1 billion PulseX, and Pulse. Yeah, and I mean, it makes a little bit of logical sense, especially for the people that kind of dumped over the past day. It was probably smart for them to dump and find a better buy-in price, because when you have, like, if you kind of conceptualized what was happening earlier in the day, you should have foreseen this dump, and you probably could have front-run it and got yourself some more Pulse tokens, right? Personally, like I said, since this is below my buy-in price, I'm going to transfer some funds in and scoop up some Pulse on the cheap, for sure. I'm going to do that before I go to bed tonight. And hopefully it won't be a big mistake. Hopefully I won't lose everything. But if I do, whatever. Yeah, so hopefully when this blows over, and eventually it will blow over, eventually the problem will not be a problem anymore, right? There'll either be a new exchange, or people will get over it, or people will move on, right? It's not like people are losing tons of money here, it's just that they're not making any money from the trading piece. Cryptozadi, I'm disappointed with the current PA, including FUD. However, every big layer 1 DEX launch, you usually see a 60% dip. We're seeing it right now, plus we're in a bear, plus we have big FUD. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're still up 1.17x. This is not like a dark day yet. This is still a great day for Pulse. We haven't gotten to the days of maximum FUD. Once you see, like, we're down to like 0.3x, right? Once this is down to 0.3x or 0.4x, that's when you can say, man, this is rough. But right now, this is not rough. This is still happy days for people who sacrificed. Maybe except for people who sacrificed PulseX. Those people are in a little bit of a loss right now. But I think, I can't remember. I think most people did get into PulseX, but half the people are okay right now. So yeah, if you're, hopefully nobody's crying yet, because it's not time to cry yet. You got some time before we get there. I'm just gonna keep buying every month, especially at these prices. That's one way to do it. I would. This is what I would do. I would, like, pick a couple price targets. I'm not a big fan of buying every month, because that can really backfire. If things don't recover, you're gonna really screw yourself over if you buy every month and it keeps going down every month. But, like, my first price target was 0.00013, so that was my first buy-in point. My next buy-in target is probably going to be below sacrifice rate, and then maybe one more after that, even lower than sacrifice rate, and then if it goes lower than that, I'm going to be done scooping up some. I think the chain might be cooked if it goes too low. The fix is 2-line stuff, will be fixed later, and the version will be deployed soon. No biggie. Yeah, well, hopefully that's the case. Like I said, hopefully it is tweakable. It's kind of a little worrying if it's too tweakable. Like, sometimes these exchanges, if you can set the fee to be 100%, that's like a red flag. So a lot of times these exchanges launch, they set their fee rate, and the smart thing to do is, and hopefully he did it this way, you can have a variable rate, like anywhere from 0% to 5% can be considered trading fees that go to the people in the liquidity pool, and anything above that number is not allowed to happen in the contract. Hopefully they set it up like that. That would be smart, and then that would be a 2-line fix and problem solved. Bada bing, bada boom. But honestly, if that was the case, I don't know why didn't they fix it already? That's a super easy fix. But if that's not the case and they can't just, do a 2-line fix, it's going to be a bigger mess. But it won't be the end of the world either. It's just going to be like, it's going to be bad for PulseX. Checking in 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years is a long time in crypto when PulseX could go up a lot in 2.5 years. But honestly, there might be some other stuff that I'm checking out in 2.5 years as well. If BTC and ETH will move, Pulse, so will Pulse. If not, we're all wrecked regardless. Well, Pulse has been like out of parity with BTC and ETH for the past couple days, right? BTC and ETH are only down to 1.7%, and Pulse was up like what, almost 3x when BTC and ETH are barely moving. Honestly, BTC and ETH haven't moved at all this year. If we kind of zoom out 1 year, a year ago we were sitting at pretty much the same price. So on average, BTC and ETH are kind of just have been doing nothing. This has been a nothing year. So might be boring times for Pulse in that case. Polygon's down a little bit. Crypto's having a bad day today. Guess it isn't just Pulsechain. Pepe's getting destroyed too. I could have told you guys that one. That's why I got out of Pepe a long time ago. Yes. Let's take a look at the damage. Look at the 1 minute chart for the damage. Get rid of our minimums. It's nice to see a lot of this green. It's nice to see lots and lots of green. King of Fomo is going to be some of this green in a second. This is why I don't want to live stream too long, because if we have a giant green candle, I'm going to be upset. I got like USDC on all these different chains. I gotta move it over into Ethereum and then bridge it over to Pulsechain, and then how long is that gonna take? Does anybody know how long the bridge is taking right now? Does it take hours? 98%. Hope it doesn't take that long. If it does, I'll just get it tomorrow. But I gotta bridge my USDC over here and scoop up some Pulse, baby. But yeah, I'm planning on, with the Pulse that I have, I'm planning on using the majority of that to run my validator. I think I can run like 7 validators. So right now my validator box is syncing up to the chain, and that usually takes like a day and a half. So more news on the Pulsechain validator later. Let's see if they fixed. I'm still trying to follow this website to see if they're like fixing it, because oh yeah, it looks like some people are joining the system, the validator system. Yeah, this guy has 1,670 validators. Let's see what else we got here. Pulse ramp. So they fixed that part. This website's been really broken, so this is still broken. Hoping they update this more. This is not a nice user interface to use at the current moment for validator runners. But yeah, I mean, that'll be good news. If you're running a validator, it'll give you some encouragement. Yeah, so this guy's made 4,000 Pulse. Not too shabby. The APR is pretty good here. Yeah, I'll give you updates on this later. This is still frustrating to look at for me. Still don't like it that it's not updated. Alright, free up mines. If BTC and ETH move, so will Pulse. If not, regardless. I already read that, yeah. World's largest airdrop. I mean, I guess technically it is. I don't know. That's kind of like a misleading thing. Because yes, it's a really, really large airdrop, but you got airdropped a bunch of zero. Have you checked ETH chart when it launched after ICO? In my opinion, if you want to have serious gains in crypto, you don't want to act too emotional with this PA. You trust the system, DCA, and think long term. Yeah, I kind of half agree with you. So, yeah, like one, you don't want to be overly emotional and just sell at a loss, because how do you win anything if you just panic sell all the time? So I agree with you on that point. Um, Long term, hopefully it works out. It doesn't. It usually doesn't work out long term though. If you look at most cryptos, some of them, yes, like Ethereum is sort of an anomaly, and a lot of other coins are anomalies. But the majority of coins are eventually they go down long term. Hopefully, Pulse is not one of those, and Pulse is a successful one long term. Honestly, I think we have to see the next bull run what revives themselves, right? Because I'm holding a lot of bags right now of promising coins that say they're going to do great during the next bull run, and I'm hoping that they do. If you sold on every big dip on ETH or even BTC, you would have burned yourself so much. Yeah, I mean that's the case for everything. If you sell low and buy high, you're gonna lose. The upside potential for Pulse and PulseX is huge, even at more now that these are the prices. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah, honestly, I sort of agree with you with that. Like we're at about 1x right now. So if you missed the Pulsechain sacrifice, now's your second chance to get in the Pulsechain sacrifice. And then if it does well at all, right, then you're gonna be up in the positives, right, no matter what. So this is potentially a great time to jump in. You might have an even greater time to jump in tomorrow if you wait. Um, if we go below sacrifice price, then you have an even greater time to jump in. And what that means is, like, not only do you have a higher return that you're going to get in the long term, right? You know, your 10x is going to be a lot easier to get than the people who bought at all-time high, right? They're going to get 10x. It's going to take them a lot longer to get 10x. You might get 10x in a few weeks or a few months if you buy at a very, very low price. So that's one way to look at it. Less stress, but also I know that a lot of people they weren't planning for this, so they don't have spare cash to buy on the cheap. But if you do, hey, think about it. Think about it. Let's see, how are we doing right now? How's Pulsechain doing? Let's look at the 5-minute chart. We're not really moving around that much. We're getting a lot of nice buys right here. This guy bought a couple times right here. We don't have too many chunky sells. This is a chunky sell right here from a couple minutes ago, $5,000. Yeah, it looks like people are sort of finding the bottom. I mean, honestly, yes, today was a FUD day. And eventually, when that FUD ends, the price is going to recover. And I think it's going to recover pretty hard. I think I think that we will be at an overcorrected point once this is all over. Once it goes down, I think it's going to be overcorrected, and it's going to rise significantly. It might keep dumping, but it's going to rise significantly after that overcorrection. So that's why I'm trying to time my buys in here. Now, when I say overcorrection, I think that doesn't mean I think it's going to go rocketing up 10x, but I do think it's going to recover pretty hard and then move sideways for a little bit. Those are my thoughts. So yeah, I don't want to be on here too long. I did say I wanted to do some research on Pulse and Pulsechain, so I'm probably going to sign off a little early and do some research on just other dApps that are being produced, and hopefully have something to bring you guys for that. For the rest of the day, what's my plans? I do want to look at ordinals a little bit more today. So yeah, I think I might peace out on you guys a little faster than normal today. So yeah, I don't really want to give my bottom prediction. I think it might be a little too difficult to give a bottom prediction right now. But I mean, if you look at this chart, yeah, I think that we might end up somewhere around like the 18 range soon if this FUD doesn't blow over. we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think the other thing to think about is like you gotta wait until the news gets out. Once the news sort of spreads out, all your whales hear about it. All your whales have a chance to make their decision. Things are gonna stop dumping, right? The whales are gonna stop dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars, and things will start to recover slowly and get back to normal, right? At a certain point, if a whale hasn't dumped, they're not gonna dump. Alright guys, that is everything for today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.